Penny Henare.
Tēnā koe, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to finish certainly the debate from this side of the House. Mr. Speaker, as I start, I would like to acknowledge Norm Berryman and his passing and pay my respects to him. I played club rugby with Norm Berryman in the far north, and he'll be sorely missed amongst the people in the north, and our prayers and our thoughts are with him and his family. Mr. Speaker, Norm Berryman was able to slice through the middle of some of the best rugby teams in the world. He was able to pick out some of the smallest gaps and exploit their weaknesses. Now, you don't need such a keen eye as Norm Berryman to find the weaknesses in this current government, Mr. Speaker. Look, what we're seeing from this government is confusion. The campaign picture of all rowing in the same direction is but a distant memory, Mr. Speaker. Housing. Let's take housing, for example. We have two ministers in particular engaging in what seems like an icy cold stare. That icy cold stare, Mr. Speaker, is around the right of first refusal. It seems to me that what this government is doing is trampling on the integrity and the so-called good faith that was entered into with the iwi of Tāmaki Makaurau in making sure that they have the right of first refusal on land to allow them to develop it for the well-being of their people. You don't need to look too far to know that it's probably strategic that Minister Smith is behind Minister Finlayson, so they're not able to engage further in that long, cold, icy stare, Mr. Speaker. You throw in the mix into that whole right of first refusal, the Māori Party. The Māori Party who, since getting into bed with the national government, has claimed that we are at the table. We are able to influence these decisions. Well, what happened when the right of first refusal came around, Mr. Speaker? All they could say was, well, we've written a letter to the Prime Minister. What happened to this solid relationship that they claim out in our regions, Mr. Speaker? What happened to this, we are getting the benefits for our people? What it showed me is they, just like anyone on this side of the House, only have the power to write a letter to the Prime Minister. And what has been the answer? Exactly. Mr. Speaker, I want to talk a little bit about poverty too. Just not long ago, this government, all they talked about was how they were focusing on poverty, how they were pouring all of this money into identifying what poverty is and how they were going to fix it. Well, at the moment, Mr. Speaker, just like the previous question I just asked, what is the answer and what are they doing now? Nothing. Mr. Speaker, it's slipped entirely off the radar. They've forgotten about poverty. They've forgotten about the regions. Why? Because they don't know how to invest in them. They don't know how to solve these issues. Mr. Speaker, to some of the more positive economic things. Tourism. Just before I came down here, I was in my office with the Chief Executive of Tourism New Zealand, who was giving me a great conversation and a great presentation about how well tourism is doing. So then why, when this government attended particular seminars and conferences with the tourism industry, who clearly said to them, we do not want a tax for people who are coming in and out of this country. What did this government do? They turned their back on them. It was a complete surprise in the budget announcement to the tourism industry. They deceived them. It was a complete surprise to the tourism industry when that announcement was made during the budget. In fact, I've received numerous complaints about this government not listening to the tourism industry, such a valuable industry in this country, and this government turns its back on it. This isn't a government with a plan, nor a future, nor a hope. I've already mentioned the campaign picture of rowing in one direction. Well, it looks like not everybody's wearing a blue t-shirt. In this case, they're all rowing the wrong way. And finally, Mr. Speaker, we talk about the holes and the party falling apart. If there's one thing that sticks together in this party, sir, I'm reminded of a dag on the rear end of a sheep. Now, we know just how sticky that can be and just how unified that can be, but we know just how important sheep are to this particular government, Mr. Speaker. A little bit of sand might be able to help with those dags on the back of a sheep, and we hope that this government actually wakes up to its own arrogance, but it's a little bit difficult when all you do is talk to yourselves on all the important matters facing New Zealand. Mr. Speaker, finally, we here on this side of the House have a positive look for the future. We are looking aspirationally for the future of New Zealand. Māori TV will see better days. Housing will see better days. Mr. Speaker, tēnā koe.
I call on, the time for this debate has expired. I call on order of the day number